I don't know if you're like me, but I'm afraid Rachel Reeves is keeping me up, and it's extraordinary. The self-styled Iron Chancellor finds herself on the precipice of a political and economic reckoning. The opportunism of her, and this isn't her. This isn't the nonsense over her CV. This is about her real job, and it's about her incompetence. And she had promised that there wouldn't be a spring budget. But in fact, not only is there likely to be a spring budget, but it's likely to be early rather than late because she's made such a, what can we say, balls up of it. The optimism of her October budget, where she proclaimed Britain's public finances were now on a sound footing, has been undercut by economic stagnation, higher interest rates, and a looming fiscal black hole. Really of her own making. This time she can't blame the Conservatives. Now, despite her assurances that no further tax increases would be necessary, the Treasurer's refusal to rule them out in next month's budget statement, earlier rather than later, suggests an unenviable reality she may have no choice. The numbers are brutal. Reeves's £9.9 billion headroom against her self-imposed fiscal rules, ensuring the current budget is in surplus by 2029, has been obliterated by poor growth figures and worsening borrowing conditions. And with the economy managing a meagre 0.1% growth in the final quarter of 2024, and forecasters predicting weaker expansion in 2025 and 2026, her fiscal buffer has been effectively erased. The March 26 statement is now expected to restore that lost headroom, with Reeves focusing on rooting out waste in public spending. But with the Treasury keeping nothing off the table, tax hikes appear to be a live option. Among the leading proposals is an extension of the freeze on income tax thresholds beyond 2028, an idea that Treasury officials have described as the obvious thing to do. Freezing tax thresholds has become a convenient fiscal sleight of hand, avoiding the explicit raising of tax rates while ensuring that inflation-driven wage growth drags millions into higher tax bands. The Institute for Fiscal Studies, the IFS, estimates that extending the threshold freeze would generate £3.5 to £4 billion annually, and politically it allows Reeves to maintain the illusion of not raising taxes while extracting more revenue from middle-income earners. The irony, of course, is that in October, Reeves deliberately chose not to extend the freeze, preferring to announce a positive headline contrast with the Tories. Paul Johnson of the IFS has noted that it would have been a relatively painless political move at the time, given her more headroom for fiscal targets, and now, however, she may be forced to reverse that decision, undermining her credibility further. If Reeves opts against extending tax threshold freezes, the alternative is spending cuts, an equally politically treacherous route, and the Treasury is reportedly looking at welfare reductions and squeezing departmental budgets through efficiency savings. We've been there before, it was called austerity. And the government's ability to deliver public services will be under scrutiny, especially after the rhetoric of investment that accompanied Reeves's £40 billion tax-raising budget last year. Any significant cuts could stoke accusations that Labour is embracing austerity under a different name. Well, I think we've already got there. Compounding Reeves' difficulties is the broader economic outlook, and rising interest rates have increased the cost of servicing government debt, while stagnating productivity and economic weakness have depressed tax revenues. Moreover, inflation remains a persistent concern, with the Bank of England revising its forecasts upwards due to rising energy prices. And Reeves' challenge is not just fiscal. She must also convince markets, businesses and the public that Labour has a credible growth strategy. A further threat looms in the form of global economic instability and the prospect of a second Trump presidency leveraging its what's it called? Anyway, all its fiscal threats, all its its threats with unpredictable economic policies could exacerbate borrowing costs for the UK. And recent jitters in the gilt markets underscore the fragile confidence in Britain's fiscal management. Rachel Reeves is learning the hard way that fiscal prudence comes with political costs, and her predicament is of her own making. By leaving herself minimal headroom, she has boxed herself into a corner where either tax rises or spending cuts will be necessary. March the 26th will be a defining moment. It may come earlier. If Reeves raises taxes, she risks the ire of an electorate already burdened by a prolonged cost of living squeeze. If she slashes spending, she risks undermining Labour's core message of investment and renewal. Either way, the aura of economic stability that she sought to project in October is cracking. And the question remains, can she navigate this crisis without damaging Labour's economic credibility? Or will she become the latest Chancellor to learn that fiscal rules, however ironclad, are ultimately hostage to economic reality?